then you came up with a fact. Now, it could have been any fact, but I gave you a bunch of examples, right? And that made it easier. I just said, pick a fact. You sort of think, oh my gosh, I can't remember any of the history of that place. But you could have a completely personal fact, right? And the personal fact, by the way, that I could tell you about the town of Leiden in the Netherlands is that after the Pilgrims left England, they actually spent 12 years in the town of Leiden before they came to the New World. And there's a small museum in the town of Leiden that will tell you the real truth about the Pilgrim Fathers. Okay, in case you ever are in the Netherlands and that's the kind of stuff you like, which is the kind of nerdy stuff I like, I'm sorry, but that is true, and you can take that. Now, the reason I had you do it is to show you the following. When somebody gives you a template, it is very easy to produce excellent results. The second time that you introduced yourself, it's a lot more professional. And let me give you the power of this specifically in an introduction. So one of my mentors is James Malinchak, who maybe some of you have seen. He was a star in the ABC hit series Secret Millionaire. And he does a lot of speaking for the college market and has for, I think, 10, 15 years. And what he does is he teaches juniors and seniors in college this formula. And he says the way you introduce yourself is as follows, okay? You say, hi, my name is Miriam Jacobs. I'm a junior at Brooklyn College, and I'm looking for an internship in a non-for-profit. So you say your name, you tell them what university you are and what year you are, and you tell them what you're looking for. That seems really obvious by the time I tell you that, right? But I'm going to tell you thousands and thousands of kids have gotten jobs and internships that way. Now, how many of you have kids, right? Yeah. How many of you have ever seen a kid? Right, okay. Just, I like to include everybody in if I ask you to identify yourself. Right, we know kids, we have kids, we mentor kids, and they go, oh my gosh, I'm looking for a job, I don't know what to do. And they go to a job fair, and they go to a place where there are contests. How do we get them to actually realize their potential? Just gave you the formula. Tell them your name, tell them where you're at in school, tell them what you're looking for. Thousands of children have, young adults, I won't call them children, have found a way to an internship or to a job with that simple formula. The same thing is going to happen here. I'm going to give you the template. You don't have to invent this from scratch. You sort of go, oh my gosh, I have to do a report, or this difficult email, or I have to complain to customer service. And we're all inventing this from scratch. Of course that's hard. You should always, okay, let me put it this way. You've got two ways to learn. You can either learn by doing and mistakes and correcting mistakes and doing it again and making more mistakes. You can learn from your own mistakes. Or you can learn from somebody else's mistakes. Find somebody who has done it and who is still doing it and who is good at it. Learn from them. Steal from them. Use their templates. Use their stuff. Now, the reason why it doesn't always occur to us in business writing that we need these templates is because, hey, we went to school. We have writing classes, right? And I'm going to tell you, I'm a published writer, and I know about writing classes. I've been both published by publishing companies, I've been self-published, I've done books, fiction and nonfiction, I have done ghostwriting. One of those books went to 2 different countries, and in both countries got to bestseller list. I've done articles and I've done columns, I've done tons of stuff. And all the people like me, you go into their house, they all have the same kind of stuff in their bookshelf, okay? They all have, everybody will tell you, oh, you need Stephen King on Writing. It's a brilliant book, by the way. And we've all invested in ourselves, gone to seminars, gone to conferences, go to writers groups, go to maybe get a master's degree in creative writing. We've all invested, we all have the scars to show for it, we all talk about how agents are impossible to get. And these are all resources that I have gathered as a writer. Useless. They're different resources than what you really need in the business world. So all of these wonderful things that you learned in school, that you practiced, turning in papers and turn papers, was something useful to that. I'm sure that you learned from that. But really, in business writing, when somebody says, on Friday morning at 9 o'clock, I better have a report on my desk. It doesn't help you with that, because that's not what's being taught, right? So I'm going to tell you, I have a third goal. Gave you the first two, now it's my third goal. When you walk out of here, I want you to have the kind of resources that you need so that in your company, when something needs to be produced on paper, you're the go-to person. You're the person they can't do without. This is the scenario that I want, that when your boss's boss comes in and says, we got to cut half the people in this department, I'm sorry, that's it. That when they get to your name, that your boss says, I'm sorry, I need her. He is unmissable. He's the one I go to every time I need a report and I need it done fast and right the first time. Or she's the one that I need to have in my department so that I can go to her and say, oh my gosh, we have this really miserable email that we have to send out. I need it done. I need it done right. I need results from this email. She's the one who does that. And that's your job security. That's what you have. Now, I'm going to talk about investing in resources. If you look in your workbook, which by the way is your first resource that you're going to walk out with here, there's a pink order slip there. All right, and you see all these things that we have. I'm going to be talking about some of them, not all of them. You're always welcome to order, much later. The company is there for you. But I've done something different. Again, this is not your mother's economy. And I know that making an investment in our own education, in our own resources, is a pretty tough thing to do right now. So I went back to my boss, and we did some arm wrestling. We did some negotiating. And I have negotiated some pretty steep discounts on bundles, things that I've put together that I think are the most vital, the most important things for you to have. Now, I am going to tell you this. I got these really deep discounts, but they weren't willing to give them to everybody. And so I have a limited number of these bundles here. So I'd like you to sort of think in your own head. If your job is kind of optional and you don't really need it, and you're just here because you're interested and it seems like sort of interesting, and maybe you have a husband who supports you or a wife with a great job and benefits or whatever, and this is really just not that, which is great, by the way. I totally applaud you for having figured that out. Maybe you should not be the one to invest in that bundle, and maybe leave that to somebody who is very ambitious, somebody who really needs it, somebody who knows that they have to depend on themselves and educating themselves and furthering themselves in this economy in order to be really viable, to be the person who's going to get promoted, to be that go-to person, to be indispensable in your company. So, as I said, I will talk about that and I'll tell you what's in these bundles and how we can work this all out. But if you are not the go-getter, if you don't really need it, maybe you should leave these limited number of bundles that I have for the people who are really in need of it. So that would just be a bit of cooperation. Can I just ask you to do that for me? That'd be really great. So let's start with some housekeeping rules.